Right, started.
Thanks. I'm going to hang up so I can welcome you.
Just to start, if I can just ask all the participants to mute their audio. The session will be recorded, so when you're asking your questions, just keep that in mind. My name is Mimri Zimba. I'm the current president of ASABA, and I'll be facilitating this evening session. I'll be facilitating the questions specifically, but for the most part, I'm not going to be in the way of the person you came to see. Before we get there, I'll just leave it a few moments so that everybody technically can get set up. A large majority are joining via audio. Thank you so much. If I can ask everybody else to just turn off their video as well. Make sure that from a connectivity perspective, the connection remains great throughout the session. At the background, we'll just ask the admin to also just mute everybody. The session has started recording.
We can't hear you. You've muted your mic.
Apologies. I muted my mics over there. I just want to welcome our guest for today. I'm really excited about this guest because not only is he the current president of the Actuarial Society of South Africa, but he's also the past president of ASABA. His name is Lusani Mulaudzi. I think we're still experiencing some technical problems. Just give us a minute or two to try and sort that out.
Take your time.
Okay. I can just remind everybody to please mute their mics. Echo coming through.
Sorry.
Yo, Papa.
You are going to wait for muting your mic, noted. I'd say if you could just mute your mic. Smangaliso, if you could just mute your mic. Kudzai, thank you. Kohat, if you can just mute your mic, please.
Memory, I'm gonna mute everyone and then you can unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you so much, Gerald. Just by way of introduction, Gerald is our technician. He's helping us make sure that session goes well. Thanks, Gerald.
Okay, so I'm gonna mute everyone and then just unmute yourself.
Hello, just testing.
Yes, we can hear you.
Fabulous. Lusani, if we could just test your mic as well.
Okay, I'm just unmuting.
I can hear you, thank you.
All right.
Good evening, Lusani. Thank you so much for joining us. Apologies for the technical difficulties.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I look forward.
So it's just some housekeeping rules. If everybody could keep muted, luckily Gerald has muted everybody. I'm not going to ask Lusani a lot of questions except for one, and the questions you are going to ask. So Lusani, just to start, and I'm particularly curious about this, how did a boy from Limpopo, and boy specifically because I want to know about your growing up and what made you decide to even do actuarial science. So how did a boy from Limpopo end up as president of the Actuarial Society of South Africa?
Thank you very much for this opportunity, Memory, Zimba, and all the other executives of ASABA, the ASABA Exco, and all the administrators and everyone else, the sponsors that make this work that you do as ASABA possible from year to year. And all of the 60 people that are on this call now to listen to me. And thank you for the question. You know, how did someone from Limpopo end up where I am? And it is my wish that I will not end up here. It is my wish that I will go further from where I am. It is my view that this is a stepping stone, but a very good platform to serve. And the key for me is that word serve, to always be on the lookout for opportunities to serve, to make a difference in a way that one can make a difference. You know, sometimes you would be in a country like Brazil where everybody wants to be like Abedi Pele, you know, everybody wants to play football. And it can be a lot of waste because you may find some artists that want to be Abedi Pele. You might find some actuaries that want to be Abedi Pele. You might find some dominis or pastors that want to be Abedi Pele. Abedi having been such a hero for Brazil. Growing up, I did not have a role model in the likes of an actuary. I didn't know any actuary. I think in any case, I probably only started to know or met actuaries when I started studying actuarial science at the University of Stellenbosch. Before some of you, I think most of you were born by then, I want to think, in 2001. So growing up, what was important in my household, in our household, in our village, in Venda, a place called Hamashamba, was education. Both my parents are teachers, so we had books in the house. And what is interesting is that my mother was also my preschool teacher. There's somebody who's just stepped in whose mic is on and there's an echo. If you could just switch it off. Everybody stepping in, please mute your mics. Mute your mics. Darrell, you can assist with that.
Madikana, please can I ask you to mute your mic?
Currently, you know, we are being told by scientists, by doctors.
Thank you. Lusani, please continue.
Fantastic. Yes. Yes, my mother was our preschool teacher. So when she was a primary school teacher, she was a high school teacher, but then she was selected to be a early childhood development teacher. She had to go for training for that. And when she went for that training, she took me along with, and while she was busy training for that, I had the privilege of being in one of the few, or one of the first preschools in the old Republic of Venda. So that was quite a privilege, and that was only for a short time. And then we went back to the village, where she then went to establish the first preschool there, alongside with a group of other people from other villages all over Venda who were starting these ECD centers. So I was part of that generation. Interesting enough, my wife also comes from that ECD center, so I've known her for all that long. So I think those are the kind of things that made an impression on me, just the importance of education. And my parents were people that always tried to find the best place, or the best place where they could send me for schooling. So I didn't stay home for the 7 years of my primary school, my time in primary school. I was always in other places, either staying with an uncle or in boarding school. So that was my background in terms of schooling. That obviously taught me to be independent, you know, to doing your homework and, you know, attending to your studies as diligently as you can, without parents having to watch over you. So that's something that I learned from a young age. I'm just reminded of a time towards the end of my primary school days where, you know, there used to be a lot of competition in the class, but towards the end, I did not have too much competition. So then the competition was just between myself and the books. It's to see how much knowledge I can get, you know, how well I could do, and just setting goals for myself. And that worked out quite well. So then after primary school, I went to a more multiracial school. And, you know, there you face the challenge of, you know, can a Black person be more intelligent than a white person? I mean, I used to have that sort of question in my mind before I went to the multiracial school, but it became quite clear for me in the first term that it's not a racial issue. Intelligence is really not a racial issue. And it took me a very short time to you know, distinguish myself in that setting. And there were students that gave me a good challenge. And again, with just being inspired to do a lot of self-study and to be able to assess, you know, when you get a teacher and he teaches and you realize, no, he's not very good at this subject. His knowledge of this subject is not very good. So then you start actually doing more self-study, studying ahead, and actually challenging the teacher at times. I remember once, I think it must have been grade 10 or so, grade 11, the teacher said something about how to calculate gravity and forces and so on. And I looked at it, I was like, no, it doesn't make sense. What you're saying, it cannot be right. That's not how you do it. They got another teacher to come to confirm what the other teacher was saying. I said, no, yes, it's two of you against one, but I still think you're wrong. And then they went to investigate, and they came back and they acknowledged that I was right and they were wrong. And the class was like, yeah, what was interesting there, it became almost like a democratic exercise. The class said, no, they're going to side with me against the teachers. They think I'm right. They didn't know why, but they're gonna side with me. So it became quite an interesting thing. I learned a lot through that. I learned to value my own contribution to learning. So learning is not something that is in the books, that's written by people that look different from me. No, learning is, or what you find in the books is something that's written by people like me. So I can make a contribution to knowledge. And that's the confidence that I had when I was in high school. My favorite subject at school was history. History still, now as an adult, my favorite topic. I think this COVID-19 has provided me an opportunity to actually get more in touch with that. Maybe it's much easier now because you just go to YouTube and you can find all sorts of documentaries to watch, and that has been quite a pleasure. So history was and remains my favorite subject. The others I could just do because, you know, of an inquisitive mind and so on. So towards the end of my high school, it get to, you know, decision making. What are we going to study? We tried to look at medicine. I quickly sort of found that this is not something that is too specialized for me. It's not something that will be suitable. Considered being a pilot, again, that just felt I'm not a very physical person, and physical exertion is not really something that I'm very keen on. And then I looked at something that more related to politics and things like that I found that a little bit home with that. But I also felt that my other abilities would be underutilized if I went to study PPE or something. I felt that there would be sort of an underutilization of my mathematical ability. So there was always that question of, you know, what then would be the best thing to do. I mean, and there were also thoughts of, you know, should one go and be a missionary somewhere? And, you know, because I was already quite a young boy who had quite a lot of faith at that time. So then I went to the University of Stellenbosch with a view to study value and policy studies, which I felt was a good combination of the more arty side and the more mathematical side. My parents were not in favor of that because of the financial implications of them having to try to put me through university, which was going to be very difficult. I did some career counseling when I was there in Stellenbosch University, and actuarial science was my second option. And the career guidance person, the counselor, he felt that he would nudge me towards doing actuarial science. I had very little knowledge of actuarial science at that point in time. I had read some of the publications out there that showed, I think it was Thabo Tloti or so, was still at Old Mutual, was featured in one of them. And you could see that the requirements to get study support, bursaries and so on were quite high, and the entry requirements were quite high. So this was something that required one's mathematical ability. So those were the attractive aspects of doing actuarial science, but there was never any understanding, any in-depth understanding of what that meant, what actually one would do. So that was very difficult for me to undertake something that I had no understanding of what I would be doing. But I had to then obviously exercise a bit of faith to say, okay, look, I mean, if this is what everybody's telling me, including my parents and so on, let me do that. So that's what I did. What I then told myself is that once we make a decision that this is where we're going to go, this is what we're going to do, then we're going to stick with this. Then we're going to have to make it work. So that's when I actually started to research more about it. I identified a senior in my res. It was in a res called Hayes Fisser in Stellenbosch. There was a gentleman, Mr. Javi Leroux. I identified him, so I just had to tag behind him and say, look, tell me more about this, show me your notes, give me your notes. So he gave me his notes, second semester notes, and I started studying those notes, second semester notes. Started to be, prepare myself, get my mindset right around this. And when I look back, that's the kind of thing that sort of paid off for me. I did quite well in my first year. And second year was a lot tougher. and my experience at university, I then also still explored some of the interests that I had, getting involved in church activities, getting involved in student organizations, to be in leadership so that you can, explore that aspect of the things that I was interested in. Got to travel in the same time. I had my first trip to the US as part of a university society back in 2002. Went to Washington. And that opened up my eyes. It was my first time flying. I organized that trip. I bought the tickets, organized the visas, everything. So that was a sense of accomplishment, just doing that and taking responsibility, not just for me, but for others that I was traveling with. That in terms of confidence, it made me feel, wow, we can do this. And going to the capital of, of the biggest superpower in the world, that was fantastic. And to see the Capitol Hill and so on, it was fantastic. Funny enough, last year, 2019 May, I went back to Washington for the second time, and it brought back such memories when we drove past the hotel where I stayed. And I just remember the first few days at that hotel, we didn't have money. So I was actually starving. I was like, I'm in this richest place in the world, I'm starving. It didn't make sense, but some people helped us out, and it all worked out. So that is the kind of experience that I had. I've always been interested in leadership. So I've always been interested to serve. So studying actuarial science, going to work at Sanlam, you feel when you are behind the desk that this is not the best use of my talent. I can do valuations, I can do EVs, I can click the button, I can do the runs, I can check the data, but this is definitely not the best use for my talent. So I remember when the call came for people to serve on ASABA, I felt, well, I think this would be a good step up for me. So I did that. I stepped up to that, and no one wanted to step up to be the president at that point in time. So I had a bit of doubt. Like at that time, I was not qualified. I still had a couple of subjects to go. This is now 2009. But when I saw that, we couldn't move, we couldn't have our first meeting because no one is stepping up to be the leader. I decided at that point to step up and say, look, I'm willing. I was surprised that they were happy with me stepping up. I was like, okay, this might be a poison chalice. If people are so willing to give it to me, I don't have to run against anybody. But I took that up, and what a fantastic experience. I served there for 3 years. The old ESCO, the previous ESCO, they had done a fantastic job for a number of years, but they really needed a new group of guys to come in. So they were very happy to hand that over to us. And so it was a completely new executive team with no experience from the past executive team. So in a sense, that was exciting because now when I had to build from scratch, and I really enjoyed my time working with the executive team, actually going and inviting people to come and serve with me, and thinking of activities to do, and programs to set up. A lot of the programs that you have now were around, but there were new ones that we had to think about: the schools outreach, the university chapters. Those are the kind of things that we had to think about. So when I see a lot of talent that is coming through the university chapters, people going on to serve on the EXCO, it pleases me greatly that vision is bearing fruit. So that is the kind of experience that I gained there. And from that, serving on ASABA got me to also sit on council, the Actuarial Society, and that also benefited me greatly to understand how the profession works, and what makes a profession move forward. What are those kind of things that achieve that. So that helped me. I started to be more involved in education initiatives. And so when my term expired at ASABA, I was challenged to stand for, the sort of, I think, recent qualifier. I think by then I had qualified. So I became a council member straight from there, and continued to be a council member, I think, for another consecutive, I think, 4 years or so, until I stepped down in, I think, end of 2016. I stepped down, and then I was appointed to be the principal of the academy. So these are people who would approach me and say, do you want to do this? So I was never really scheming to say, this is what I want to do when I run for that position and so on. You know, people would come and approach me and say, you know, have you thought of this? Can you do that? We want to appoint you as that. So then I would look at it and say, it's a good opportunity. And then I would, I attended to that. 2017 was a pivotal year in my own career. I had been working at that point at Medskim as a healthcare actuary for about 6 years. I stayed in the same position for 6 years. I experienced a lot in that time, and it felt, you know, that it was time to move. I needed to do other things. The advantage or the privilege I had when I was at Medskim was they took me through quite a lot of management courses, from middle management training, senior management training, executive training, all the way to executive coaching, and I really thoroughly enjoyed that. And just the job that I did as a healthcare actuary, as a pricing actuary, as a product development actuary, as a valuation actuary for medical scheme, that gave me a lot of experience, and interest in innovation. I traveled quite a bit. I remember the one trip that I did, which I self-financed. I went with my wife, went to Memphis for a community development conference, but I decided to go to San Francisco for an innovation conference. All I said to Medskim was, can you just pay me to just change my flights, and then if you could just pay for that conference, but the rest of the trip there is covered, because I'm going there for something else. They agreed. I went there. So I was in San Jose, that is in Silicon Valley, and we got to go to the Google campus, you know, being exposed to driverless cars, and that's where I got you know, introduced to things like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. This was back in 2015. So that was a very good exposure in my career. 2017, I moved went to a small company called OK. I became its CEO, but it was a company in distress, and I was hoping to turn it around. I was very amped, very inspired to do that. We did a lot of work in the 7 months that I was there, but unfortunately I couldn't turn it around. The wheels were really coming off, but what an amazing experience to run an entity and to make a difference and to lead people. And in that year, I was approached again by people on council, the past president, Roseanne, and I was in Joburg at that time. I was commuting between Cape Town and Johannesburg. So we had coffee together up in Johannesburg, and she said, look, she has thought about it. She has discussions. She would like to support me if I'm interested to become president. And till that point, I hadn't thought about it, because I thought this career of mine as a CEO is just about to take off. So that's what I was focused on. But I knew that if I say yes to that, then my career is going to look different. I'm going to have to, something would have to give. So I said, I'll think about it. I went to think about it. Came back and said, this is more important for me. It's a kind of job that doesn't pay you. You don't get paid for it. But I think it will be an amazing achievement for me, my family, where I come from. So I decided, come what may, this is what I'm going to choose to do. So later on in that month, when we started having disagreements with the owners, I just felt this is probably my opportunity to go. And then I just resigned with immediate effect, just left and said, no severance package, no nothing. I'm just going to go and start from scratch. So I came down from Johannesburg to Cape Town with no no promise of a salary or anything for the next couple of months. And yeah, from there, you know, I had to start building a new company. I started working with a partner, and yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last 2 to 3 years, and doing a lot of volunteering work for the Actuarial Society. And yeah, you have to do your 2 years as president-elect, and beginning of this year, then started off my term as the president. So that's my background. That's my journey towards being the president of the Actuarial Society. And there's a lot I can share about my vision and how I view things now. But perhaps I should just pause at this moment, memory, and just check whether everybody is still on board here. I can see that sometimes the connection is fluctuating a bit, but I just want to check whether everybody's still on board.
Hi, listen, now everybody can hear you unless they have connectivity issues at home. But before we even open up the questions, I just want to summarize some of the points that you have highlighted. You mentioned, for example, the importance of education and how it enables you to get to where you are. But even more importantly, you mentioned how you were challenging what you were studying, that you didn't just accept what you were told. You applied your mind to ensure that what you were being told is actually accurate. And in the instance you shared, you're actually on the right side. You also there highlighted the importance of valuing your own contribution, which a lot of students and employed people don't really recognize. You've mentioned how you went about deciding on what to do next when you were deciding to choose a career in actuarial science, and again when you were deciding to become president of ASABA, also just becoming the CEO of a company. You also highlighted the importance of exposure and giving yourself an opportunity to be in new environments, which I think is extremely valuable. But even more than that, all those opportunities seem to have been driven by you. So for me, that highlights the importance of not waiting for somebody to create opportunities for you, but to find space in ensuring that opportunities will come around. Having just said that, you stepped up to become president of ASABA when nobody else did, at a risk to yourself, and that opened a lot of doors. So you've just highlighted the importance of showing up and being present and contributing, and how that adds to other opportunities that people then approach you for, as opposed to you going to look for those opportunities. I think I do have a question there, which a lot of, especially the students, might want to find out more about. You talked about how you started your job as CEO with the spirit of turning the company around, and that didn't work out. If you can just share with us how you maneuvered that and how you handled the fact that you had this goal and you didn't quite pan out and you moved on. Because I think I would want to highlight, before you even answer that question, that you couldn't turn it around, but it was an amazing opportunity. And that opportunity, the learnings from there, you then converted to start a new company from scratch. So if you can just highlight more and speak a little bit more about handling that, because a lot of people struggle with handling disappointment, handling failing an exam.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Yes, I had the goal, and I would not replace that experience for anything. It was fantastic for me. It was a very effective MBA, and I had to do a lot of reading, preparing myself, you know, how to transition from being a consultant, a specialist in a way, to being a general manager. So I did a lot of reading on that, you know, how to deal with boards, how to deal with employees. And I mean, I was provided with a perfect situation where you've got shareholders fighting with some members of the board, and with suppliers, with the employees, with the regulator. Fantastic experience. Going to the regulator and getting reprieve and saying, I'm going to work on this, I'm going to improve this. And then they say, okay, we feel sorry for you, but you can go and try. And then you're having to go and beg the shareholders to give you money so you can pay salaries. And then going to the employees and presenting to them that you're going to fire them because you only need, of the 40 of them, you only need 15 of them. Doing that and doing it in a way that they walk out excited but worried at the same time. Excited at the way it's being done, that they're being led, but worried because they don't know what the future will bring. I still have some of them as friends that we still speak. They still contact me. It was an amazing experience, and I could draw from that in my experiences going forward. In being the president of the Electoral Society, it's an organization that needs to run. Yes, there's a CEO there, but you know, when you've had that experience of being a CEO, you can see some things as well, and so therefore the CEO can find value in you. He doesn't just view you as somebody who's younger than him, but he sees you as somebody who's experienced and understands certain things that maybe he doesn't experience or he doesn't have a experience in. So at the end of the day, so age is just a number, but you know, experience, years of experience, and the breadth and the depth of experience that counts, no matter how young you are. So that opportunity for me facilitated that experience, and it's an attitude that I had when I was doing exams. My attitude was, you know, failure never really depressed me much. Yes, maybe if it happens twice, you start to think, okay, what am I doing wrong? But I always had this energy the day after that I can compete with the material. I can get this knowledge. It was always the knowledge that I needed to get there, understanding that I needed to get, that was going to see me through the next time. And if that was a struggle, I knew that I wasn't ready yet. So it was always exciting to say, let's see what's going to happen next time. So it was never like, oh, I'm black and therefore I'm not that clever, you know, this. No, I never got into any of that. I've always had this confidence. You know, it's something that my dad, you know, he once said to me when I was in, I think, grade 7. You know, he says, you know, we were listening to all these matriculants who were doing well. He says, you know, you're gonna do that well in matric. You know, you're gonna be one of those that they're gonna talk about on radio and stuff like that. And I was. So there's always this belief that I am gonna qualify. I am gonna pass this exam. There's just no way that I'm gonna keep on failing this. So I might fail it 5 times, 6 times, but eventually I'm gonna do it. So it's very important to the way you approach your studies and your exams. It can be reflected in the way that you approach your career and your life as well. Because in life you will have failures, you will come across difficult things, and you would need to rise from that. So that's very, very important. And also some of the you know, other things. I remember when I was at school, I had fantastic teachers that took an interest in me as a person and not just as a number. You know, they will say, look, you know, when you grow older, then the tests are not this 2-hour tests that you write here, or these 3-hour exams that you write. It's really the challenges, the life challenges that come your way, and that has been my experience. You know, one comes across a lot of challenges in life, and you realize that, oh, shush, those tests, I would rather take an exam or a test than to face this challenge that I'm facing now in life. So you know, one has to approach any kind of obstacle with a positive mentality. I've got a lot that I would like to share, but I just want to get a sense of the balance between the questions and some of the things that I have to share.
So at this stage, what we're going to do is that we're going to open it up for questions. In terms of how that's going to happen, you can either write your questions on the message board, or you can raise your hand and we'll recognize you and you can ask Lusani the questions. At this stage, are there any questions? So while we wait for people to put up their hands and post their questions on the chat, I just want to follow on what you've just said, because you've highlighted 2 instances where people believed in you. The first one was your father just saying to you, you can do it. The next one was your teacher just sort of helping you come to terms with some of the things you are deciding on and how you face certain things. How important is it to have cheerleaders?
Absolutely important. Well, more than cheerleaders. I don't know if you're talking about those that I see with the American NFL. Maybe it's important to have those ones, but I don't know how much contribution that make in your life. Yeah. Anyway, it's important to have people that can see through the facade to the real elements, the real character, or the real challenges that you're going through, who are not fooled by how you dress and the things that you say, but they can see through that and can project that into the future and give you very candid, very truthful assessment of what you will need to succeed. And it's something, I mean, I even said it to you, Memory, that I hear what you're saying about this challenge and that challenge, but let's push people to dig deeper so that they can succeed, because you will find no civilization, you will find no successful company, no successful country, no successful organization where people never had to dig deeper. You have to dig deeper. You know, you can toy all you want. You can blame white people. You can blame colonialism and apartheid, but if you never dig deeper in what you're truly able to do, you will never rise to excellence or to anything that anybody wishes to emulate. So that's quite clear. I mean, I think once you settle that, then you will approach life with a different mindset. That I'm not going to come into a workplace and expect that there's going to be a red carpet rolled for me. It's not going to be like that. Actually, I might have individuals that don't like me, that want to keep me away. And sometimes it's because you are Black, but sometimes it's because that's how things are. That even if we're all Black, there would be people that are against you, that are jealous of you, that don't like you. I mean, I grew up in an environment where all of us were Black. But the challenges were there. You know, in the village, we are all Black. We are all of the same tribe. In my village, almost all of us are cousins. Either you are a Mashamba or you're a Mulaudzi or you are a derivative of that. But there's still a lot of witchcraft and a lot of jealousy and a lot of things. So I'm like, hey, let's not be too hard on the other races. You know, we do some of these things to ourselves, you know, at times, sometimes even worse things. So there is a resilience that one must develop if one wants to really succeed and to bring people along, not just sort of your own success, but one that can be broadly shared. That requires, I mean, if I look at leaders and talk about my heroes or people that I look up to, I've got 3 people that I look up to, if I exclude sort of biblical characters. And I don't know who are your most 3, but my best leaders, 3 of them, top 3, is in order of sort of, you know, the way they impress me, is Mahatma Gandhi, number 1, Martin Luther King Jr., number 2, and Nelson Mandela, number 3. And what stands out, you know, if you look at the first 2, you know, their commitment to their struggle was, you know, led them to, you know, being assassinated for what they believed in. That's the strength of conviction. It gets you to be hated so much that the only way is to eliminate you. Luckily, Mandela was not eliminated, thankfully for us. But the strength of character and conviction, he was prepared to be eliminated for what he believed in. He said, if needs be, this is something that I'm prepared to die for. So he had the same mindset. And that says to me, that is the mindset of leadership. It has to be that. That is the mindset of servant leadership. If you go into biblical characters, you will find lots of examples of the kind of thing that I'm talking about. So leadership is not about saving yourself. Leadership is doing what would be best for people. Even when they're not there, they're not there watching you. Those are the kind of things that you need to be looking out. I see that there are quite a number of questions on the board there. I don't know if you want to read them so that we can tackle.
Yes, please. And I'm just going to ask you if you can keep your answers short so we can take more questions, and hopefully there'll be more questions that arise. So the first question is from Antonio Gambino. He asks, what does success...
That's the second question. That seems to be the second question. The first question seems to be the one before. What would you advise those of us who, after grad, have not been able to afford the exams due to dealing with black tax? You missed that one. Yeah, so that's the one that I see here in front of me. Should I start with that one? Yeah, look, it's black tax is a reality and is going to continue to be a reality because it speaks to the inequality that is in our country, which is a reality which needs to be tackled with all creativity and all commitment that we can master as a people. That is the struggle that we're waging at the moment, is that of inequality in our nation. And then I guess one has to view it in that context. Typically many people who are studying post-university would, and that's typical, that's what used to be, but I mean, obviously that is changing a lot, would be working and would have support at work, but that is changing. I mean, the workplaces are not able to absorb all the students. So you're gonna have those challenges of young people, maybe having an employer that doesn't support them, and having responsibilities at home, and so on. What I did, in situations, even when I was an actuarial student, even when I had an honors degree, and I was working at Sanlam, I got married, I bought a house, I had responsibilities, and my salary was not enough. I remember in 2008, after paying everything, I think I would have 800 rands left. And what I did, and at that time I was actually, that year I didn't pass any subject, so it was a difficult year for me. I decided to take my car and go deliver pizzas. I delivered pizzas in 2008 because I needed to have that extra 1,000 rand to push me through the month. And it will take me a couple of weekends and I'll have the 1,000 rand instead of asking my parents. And what I've discovered is that not even my own brothers who and less would be prepared to do that. They wouldn't be. They would rather ask me or ask somebody. They wouldn't be prepared to go and deliver pizzas. But I did. I did in Stellenbosch and in Kuils River. I took my Almera, Nissan Almera, and I went around delivering pizzas. And I did that on 2 occasions. And so one can have a what my mindset, I'm looking for an English word that is escaping me now, sort of as if, you deserve to be helped kind of mentality. I don't have that. I don't go around feeling sorry for myself and feeling somebody needs to help me. If somebody wants to help me, great for them. But I would always want to look for an opportunity to do something to contribute towards my own success. When I was a student, I was a door guard at the ladies' rest, quite a few of them. So you quickly then discover which girls you shouldn't marry because you see them coming back at the wee hours of the morning, and some of them with not a lot of balance. But that's something that I did, and that was actually an amazing opportunity because you could actually study for 6 hours uninterrupted, standing guard, and then at the end of the month or so you've your cash. So I think there's some resourcefulness that we can look at. You may find that there are people that you could be tutoring, because once you have an actuarial degree, man, you are creme de la creme. I mean, to go through these actuarial degrees is not a joke. So you may find that there are students who you could tutor and make money with the time that you have to create some time to do that. So one has to look at all those things before we can even start thinking about, should a rural society have a bursary and so on. And there is a lot of support out there, probably not enough, but there is a lot of support out there, and there's some kind of resourcefulness that we also need to look into ourselves. Let me look at the next question. Do you want to read it or should I read it?
Can I just ask
Should I read it?
No, just hold on there for a minute. Can I just everybody to send me privately the questions if you don't want to put it in the group instead of asking Lusani directly, just so that we can manage his time well. So I'll read the next question, Lusani. And I think what you said before is quite important, and it will tie to this question of what keeps you up at night and what does success mean to you?
For me, success, and herein I agree with Nelson Mandela, one of my heroes. You need to, when you're getting bored, sometimes just go and listen to some of his speeches. When you actually listen to, for instance, you go and listen to some of the speeches that he was giving when he was touring the US after he was released, going to different universities, and listen to what he was saying. And I've got some of his books as well, and you listen to read some of the quotes and stuff like that. You understand the depth, not only sort of what was sort of on the surface, but the depth that the man had and understanding. And he understood that one of the best sort of things that he could do to serve humanity is to create an atmosphere or a situation wherein they could thrive. So his contribution was to create, for there to be peace, and so that it gives an opportunity for others to thrive. And I would say the same. I mean, it's really working in such a way that it opens up opportunities for more people to thrive. I would say that is success. I think for me, to just have my own Polo Vivo and the townhouse in Midrand, it's really not going to capture it. It's not going to be success. It would need to go beyond that. It would need to be being the kind of person, an Abedi Pele of sorts, where young kids say, I want to be like that. I want to study as hard as that. And they make an effort to understand what makes Abedi Pele, what makes Nelson Mandela. Well, it's 27 years in prison. Are you still interested? That kind of thing. So sometimes you come across young folks that they like you, they wanna be like you, but they like sleeping their 8 hours or their 9 hours. They don't want to know that when you were in matric, for almost the rest of the year, you were sleeping 4 hours every night. Unhealthy as it is, you were competing with the knowledge. You had a goal and you needed to succeed, and you were doing what you knew it would take you at that point. You would find very few that are interested in that kind of activity, the discipline that goes with success. And so I think that is success for me. What keeps me up at night is, we spoke about the inequality gap, the kind of poverty, the kind of lack in the rest of Africa. That has been keeping me awake since I was a young boy. I've had the privilege now to go to many of the cities in Africa, spending time. I've been in 2018. I went to about 5-6 cities, and I stayed in Dakar for 10 days. And I was lecturing. I was lecturing financial mathematics in Dakar for free. I actually even paid my own ticket to go there. Luckily, they sorted out my accommodation. But and why did I do that? For the love of it, for seeing people that are similar to me in one way but different, because I had to speak French. Luckily, I did some French at university. Although I don't remember, couldn't remember much of it, but I can do some basic conversations in French, and that helped quite a lot to sort of. And these are Muslim students, some of them, and you feel like you're the only Christian spending Christmas in Dakar. So that is what for me. That's what pushes me. That's what motivates me. That's what keeps me up at night. When I watch those, a lot of young Africans dying trying to cross the Mediterranean, because of just lack of hope in their countries. Then they have to go and risk their lives trying to get to Italy and hopefully get to Germany. That pains me to watch all of that. Yeah, so that's that question, Memory.
Thanks, Lusani. We've got a few more questions, some of them have been private. So if you can just shorten your answers so that we can make sure that we answer all those questions. But the next question is from a student. It seems we have a mix of working students and university students. This one I'm assuming is a university student, Emmanuel K. Emmanuel K is a budding entrepreneur and wants you to take him through your day-to-day. He wants to find out how to start his own consultancy, how to get about getting customers. He basically just wants a highlight of a typical day at the office.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it's not been a fairy tale, and I don't think it's that successful yet. What has been working for me is basically my own sort of brand and visibility, and then you get people giving you some work to do and so on. It's not at a hectic pace where I'm doing a whole lot of work and stuff like that. I've actually had to even say no to doing some type of work because it didn't fit in. I could sense that it doesn't fit in with what I actually ultimately want to achieve. Just to give an example, to say no to doing ref claims because I was more interested in turning around road accident fund, because I had a sense that my role is more to turn around the organization. And then I was appointed to be on the board. So in a sense, I was justified in my decision. But I picked up some experience to know what the problems are. And my partner, helped me a lot in that regard. But now I'm in a position where I actually can work with the management to turn it around. And it's such a mammoth task. But, I like these sort of mammoth type things. So I don't know if I'm the best guy to advise on how to be successful in running a consultancy, because I'm not that hectically successful. But also I've just picked up opportunities I do a lot of tutoring for the academy, so that helps to bring in some cash. I sit on another board as well. And from time to time I get pieces of work, interesting pieces of work to do, and I do that, and that helps. A lot of that comes from some of the presentations that I will do in different areas. So it's really being out there, being visible, being known, becoming a brand in a sense, being known that you're good at certain things. You probably need to invest in yourself as a brand, so that you don't have to pay anybody a bribe to get any piece of work. So I think that is the advice I'll give you there.
The next question, I'm just going to read it out. I'm doing mathematical science at CPUT, and I'm studying towards being a data scientist. How important is it to constantly check the relevance of your courses while you're studying and accept lectures, how to get Okay, let me just reread that. So we'll break this question into two parts. The first one is, how important is it to constantly check the relevance of the courses you're studying?
That's very important because the world is changing so much. And I mean, when in my presidential address, I spoke about the future of the profession and the kind of trends that maybe will present opportunities for us as a profession or be a threat to us as a profession. So all of us constantly need to be looking at what skills are being demanded, what skills will be demanded in 3-4 years time, and for us to upskill. I need to upskill, I need to do more courses, and I'm signing up for online courses as well so that I can upskill in areas that I'm interested in. So it's very important to do that. But I guess when you're at university, it's important for you to complete what you start, to have a degree, but a degree in itself is not going to be the amen, you would need to do more in addition to that. So yes, you can get a data science degree, but you need to know what are the trends, what's happening, what would you need to specialize in, and so on. So you would need to brush shoulders with people that are in that space, so that you're alert to what is happening there. So yeah, I think that's what I would say on that one. Take the second part.
The second part is, and I think you've answered some of it, but the part you perhaps could just answer is, how do you go about getting a mentor in the field you're interested in going into?
If you go on LinkedIn, you will find people that are doing what you're doing. So you reach out to them. Some of them will not respond, some of them will. And also, if you look out for conferences or seminars that are being done on the subject, go. I remember in 2005, when I was a student at Stellenbosch University, I thought to myself, Mina, I want to go to an actuarial society seminar somewhere. So I saw that there was one happening in Johannesburg, and I realized that weekend, so I'm going to be in Johannesburg. So then I actually applied for it. I rocked up, and in the morning, I was staying with a friend. I had forgotten where the venue was. I didn't know where the venue was. I did not have any emails. I didn't have access to my email. So I actually didn't know. I have no access to internet at that point. And I said to him, I think it's in Midrand. So he just drove me to Midrand as he was going to work, and he just dropped me somewhere. And I just walked, and I turned around. I went to the first hotel, which happens to be that, what is it, the one hotel in Midrand? I'm forgetting the name. Fortunately, that was the hotel where the conference was taking place. I don't know how I found that hotel. The first hotel that I walked to was the right hotel. So put yourself out there. Go to conferences. Go to seminars. I run a mentorship group where, this is what I advise them to do. This is how you get ahead. Find somebody who knows something about the material, about the subject. Work with that person, even if you're working with them for free, so that they can show you around the corners and what you need to be successful in that profession, and go to these seminars where you can see people presenting. Go to them afterwards, thank them for the beautiful talk, and ask for their business card, and send them a nice email. Don't bother them like asking for money and stuff like that. But is there something you can help them with? And then you will find somebody who maybe will connect with you and your heart and will assist you. Next one, Memory.
Was there a specific reason you decided to work in healthcare specifically?
Yeah, so the healthcare issue was also quite an interesting one. So while I was at university, I was told by my professors, Professor Slattery, after I finished my degree, he said, no, I need to stay on and I need to do my honors over 2 years. I was like, okay, all right, okay, 2 years. So the first year, get all your exemptions. Second year, do your A311. Yeah, I did that. And then at the end of that, he said, he feels I must stay for longer. So I need to stay another year at university. Okay. So I got a scholarship at the university. That helped a lot, succeeding against odds and so on. So that was a good thing. So I stayed for another year. And in that year, they were doing a healthcare course with Shivani Ramji, Heather McLeod, Paul Lacock, very prominent health actuaries. And then the professor said, just go and check it out. You might like it, just go and check it out. I was set on doing life insurance fellowship, but he said, just go and check this thing out. So I went there, sat in the class, listened to what they were talking about. I was like, this sounds interesting. So then I changed my mind and said, I'm going to do healthcare. So because I did that course at university and I actually loved it, the fellowship course, this is now the last course that you pass in order to qualify. And I was liking it, wrote the exam, did relatively okay, although didn't get the sort of exemption level. So I felt, if I can do okay with just 2 months of lectures on this, it means, wow, my road to qualification can actually be shortened here. So that's what I did. And because I did my fellowship in that course, although I was working at Sanlam later on, I decided I need to go and work in the same space. So that's how I ended up in this space. So yeah, that's how I did.
That makes sense on hearing Shivani speak, and I don't blame you for being convinced. For those students at UCT, I would advise you, if you ever find Shivani, to just have a chat with her. She's a wealth of knowledge. The next question comes from a student at Stellenbosch, and Takutwa wants to know, what gave you the drive and motivation to push through this very demanding degree? Yes.
Yeah, Takuzwa, I did not give myself any other option. There wasn't any other option. I simply needed to succeed because that's what I set out to do. So I've got that attitude of saying, no prisoners now. This is it. This has to work. And once I get into that mode, then, can move mountains. So it was just that resolve. And I don't see it a lot, that kind of resolve. I do a lot of remedial work for the academy, tutoring students. And you sit with students and sometimes you can see there's no resolve. Somebody has not made a decision that they want to pass this thing. And it's very difficult to convince someone if they don't have that resolve. So you gotta have that. You gotta have that resolve that this is something that I want to succeed in, and I'm gonna do what it takes. If you have that resolve, and then it clearly becomes very clear to you that this is not what you should be doing, then the sooner you can change direction, the better. I've changed direction quite a number of times. Where it was clear this is not going to work, and then I can make a decision very quickly. Like when I left my company, I just decided after my meeting with the shareholders, as I was walking to the hard train, I felt in my heart, I am going to leave this company. So I go to the lounge at the airport and wrote my resignation letter and told them I'm going. That's it. So at times you need to be quite, there comes a moment where you have to make tough decisions. But once you've made a decision to do something, you must be resolved to stick with it.
Thanks, Lusani. The next question comes from a student writing with us, another university student, and they say that there's some uncertainty around the exam process. They would like to know, how is the process of writing going to be like? If I can tackle all the exam-related questions at once, I don't know if we have dealt with all of the others, so that towards the end, if we've got like 15 minutes left, then we can start focusing on all of the exam-related questions. Can you manage that for me, Memory? Are we at that point? Yes, so that's the only question. In fact, I think the last question I received privately will be the last one that I answer, but this is the only exam-related question. But maybe let's leave it to the end and let's get back to the mentorship related type questions, and you can leave that to last. Are you comfortable with that? Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. So then we deal with it. So any of the other exam-related questions can come in, and then we will answer them together. Okay. So the next question is that you touched on inequality quite a bit and even highlighted it as one of the things that keep you awake at night. What is your view on, okay, sorry, so I'm gonna let me leave that, that's also exam related. So the other one says, are you allowing— You wanted to be naughty there, Memory. I wanted to be naughty, eh? No, I didn't see that. Read your mind. Okay, continue. You allowing okay, you were far from the mic. If you could just get closer to the mic so I can hear the question. So the next person, I suppose, is looking for you to mentor them personally, and they just want to know if you're allowing people to see you personally. Well, I won't say no, but at the same time, it really depends, where you're at, because, sometimes you find that the distance and whatever else is such that it may be not a practical thing. I always prefer that the kind of effective mentoring that I've found. There are some mentoring situations that I've initiated. I always feel like they are a drain because it's almost as if I'm the one who went out looking for a mentee. And those, they drain me. They're not how they should be. But I find the most effective mentorship situations are where you're actually working together on something. You're working towards a goal. It's not these coffee drinking discussions. Those ones, I feel like you don't learn much. You won't even learn much from me if we're just drinking coffee together, because then I will talk about Bafana. I will talk about Trump and the Chinese and so on. But, if we're working together on something, maybe we're doing a paper together, or we're working on a certain problem together, or like Memory, we are serving together on council, and we have our fights from time to time. Those are, for me, those are mentoring opportunities, even if they're not even labeled that, but those are the ones.
You know, like, you know, when I was a president-elect, I go to travel with the president, Peter Weedy, to different parts of the world, and we spend time together, and then we talk, we you know, and then we have to handle problems together. So that becomes a very good mentorship opportunity when we're dealing with issues together. So we see each other in work and then outside of work and so on. So if you can be creative, let me put that challenge to you. If you can be creative to find something that we can do together, where you are identifying maybe a common passion somewhere, and you say, you know what, why don't we work together on this? Hopefully I'll feel the same way, and we can work on that. So yeah, I'm kicking that ball back into your court to say, let's do it in a way that is meaningful. I don't want to run around, run chasing someone, say, hey, let's have that meeting. So no, if you can initiate something here, then, you know, I won't say no, because I'm always open to see how to take things forward, you know, with somebody who wants to take things forward. So that's my take on that one.
Thanks, Lusani. I think that's the last question on the mentorship side. We'll now get to the exam questions. I'll ask both the questions I've received together, because it's just one question, and I think you'll be able to answer both questions in one go. So I'm just going to read word for word so that I'm not paraphrasing this next question. You have touched on inequality quite a bit and even highlighted it as one of the things that keep you awake at night. What is your view on online learning, given the levels of inequality in this country, and more specifically to the actuarial community? What is your view on the proposed exam strategy for the coming session, given the various ways in which some people may be disadvantaged, not just race and gender, but other ways too? And then in addition to that question is the next question. Today, there's a lot of uncertainty around the upcoming exams. How is the process of writing going to be like?
Okay, so there are some questions that if you go through the FAQs that the officers put together, a lot of them can be answered there. And also we've got member engagement people that we pay very big salaries to help explain this process to you, that I would challenge you to get in touch with them so that they can explain in detail how the exam process is going to work. I can give it to you in a high level, but you know, I will do an injustice to it, because there's a lot that you can benefit if after you've gone through all of that, I've looked at the FAQ and so on, and you've and then after that engage with the office just to get you know, your specific questions answered. I mean, if you still don't understand it at that point of view, then obviously that's where you need extra intervention. Inequality is not a creature of an exam strategy that is being devised now, or a learning strategy that universities are using now. Inequality is a legacy that we have. Our responsibility is to bridge that gap. It's not to pander to it, is to bridge, so meaning if somebody will not be able to participate in online education because they don't have a laptop, let's get them a laptop. If somebody is not going to participate because they don't have data, let's make sure they have data. Then we're dealing with inequality. But if we say, let's not do online education, then we are fooling ourselves, because the world, that's how education is being delivered. And online education offers a lot of opportunities. In a sense, for instance, I do online courses, and I'll be doing one with a reputable university in the next while. And then I'll have access to these top professors without leaving my house. I did a whole honors degree in theology online. I never met anyone, but I was exposed to very top professors from all over the world who were assisting me with my essays and so on. So online education is an opportunity. You know, when I went to Google in 2015, they were talking about this balloon project that they were busy with. And the idea was to make sure that you can, basically, if you have a balloon over the Amazon and so on, then that village there in the Amazon could actually have connectivity and so on. Because with online education and a lot of things that need to, the way the world is working and going to be working in future, connectivity needs to be assumed. You can't have a future where there's no connectivity. You need connectivity. You will need connectivity. I was in China, and I was actually in Wuhan in November, by the way. I just missed the bug, or maybe I didn't, I don't know. But I was actually in Wuhan. In China, yes, you know, you use your phone to pay for everything there. You know, I felt like prehistoric when I was there. When I whip out my card and I want to pay for certain things, only certain places could take my card. You know, there you use your WeChat to pay and stuff like that. You know, it's the world we live in. So if Africa wants to remain behind, it's already very far behind. You know, it must ignore online education. Online education is here, is with us, and therefore every student must have a laptop. If NSFAS is not currently covering laptops, it must. And every student must have connectivity. It must just be what we do. It's like food. It's a necessity. It must be there. So even in terms of our exam strategy, which has been brought upon us by the COVID, it's brought upon us by COVID, but in the way I was thinking in my presidency, there's a lot of it that makes me glad that it came sooner, because I wanted these things to be done, but I thought people were not ready for it. I thought our governance structures were not ready for it. But lo and behold, COVID came and they became ready for it. So you will not understand what we've managed to achieve in just a few weeks to get the permissions to be able to do this kind of thing. So it's here with us, and we can make it work. If you are that a student who do not have a laptop, and so make sure we know about it, or connectivity, make sure we know about it. And I think with the lockdown that is going to be sort of slowly phased, I think it will be positive that it will be now possible to actually create some venues for those that, you know, you find that your home is not suitable. Some venues where you could attend, but we're not going to have big venues where you've got more than 5 people going. You know, you're looking for those where there's 2 or 3 or so that can attend. It will be possible after this lockdown to be able to do that, and we are willing to do that. So that is our approach to it. We have to adapt. Our profession has to adapt to how the world operates. The IFOA is doing these exams as well. All the important, how can I put it? The top universities are doing online learning. Otherwise, the students will be left far behind because of the COVID situation. A lot of us have been working online for the last 6 weeks and so on, having meetings, and life continues in terms of that. I've been conducting a lot of classes on Zoom with the academy students and so on. So it's something to take advantage of. It's not something that should be seen as it's creating inequality. You know, inequality has not been created by online education. Inequality has been created. It's been created by Hendrik Verwoerd and his cohort with Bantu education, so on. You know, the inequality, you can trace it back. Online education can actually help us to bridge that inequality if we use it properly, and that's what we should focus on. You have a tool, you use it. You know, to help to help solve the problem that you have. That is how I view these type of things. You know, you could have said, you know, WhatsApp is an inequality or this and that. If you look at the penetration of smartphones, virtually almost everybody in this country has a smartphone. But yes, there are those that still don't have it, but the penetration is very high of smartphones. So already, and then if you look at M-Pesa in Kenya, and the penetration of that too, for very poor people, rural folk, that for them, it was a leapfrog to have M-Pesa instead of some bank accounts where they have to go and show their ID documents in town and take taxis and matutu and all of that. To, you know, M-Pesa came, and then you can just press and you can do a transaction and so on. So I think IT should be looked at, and IT developments and so on should be looked at as our friends and not our enemies. It's how we use them. That's my view on online education.
Thanks, Lusani. And what we're going to do is we are going to post on the LinkedIn ASABA page details of the member engagement individuals at ASA, so that those that require particular resources to be able to write these online exams, you can then contact them directly just to help. And then just to ask one final question, Lusani, and I think there's two questions that have been asked, but I'm going to combine them into one. So we end on a positive note and an inspirational note. To say, first of all, who were your mentors? That's the one thing. And I think that's specifically the one that stood out for you the most. And then a lot of people see actuaries already qualified. I mean, we talk about going through failure, but we don't actually mention when we failed the actuarial exams. So they just want to know, when did you fail? How many exams did you fail to before you qualified? And then who inspired you? Who stood out?
I failed many exams. So I mean, some of the A200 level subjects, I think only 4 of them I did first time at university. The rest I had to repeat. And then A311, I didn't get it at university. I had to repeat and got it. Communications, I struggled with that. I only got it on the 4th attempt. And that modeling course, that computer course, I did that 6 times basically. I just, you know, you had all these cat problems and things that I didn't know what they were talking about, the cat lives and stuff. I'm not sure if I know now. You know, I struggled with that, but you know, but eventually I cracked it. Fellowship, probably did it 3 times. And there was one ST 101, F101, which I did, I think I only got it on the 4th time. So I did my time with some of these subjects, but you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger sometimes. The person who has helped me a lot in this journey and making being an actuary very real is my current partner, George Swap. When I was a student at university, he was a lecturer there, part-time lecturer. So, you know, I was one of those students that, you know, sit in front and pay attention and so on. And the exams where he lectured, I would typically go to him and I would discuss the material with him. I would have questions and so on, and he would sit there and answer them. And after doing that, like talking to him and him answering, I felt like there was not even a need for me to go and study the material, because then I understood. So I would go to the exams, and those are the subjects that I got exemptions for, because I just understood. The guy made it, he made it real for me. I could understand the concepts. So I still work with him now. We disagree, we fight, but you know, he helped me out a lot. And even when I was organizing my trip to the US, at that time I was doing some VEC work for him, and he challenged me to do this thing that I thought I could never do, but I was amazed just how I performed in doing that task. And yeah, so he's the guy that really, when it comes to this profession, Judge Swap, he helped me a lot. He helped me a lot. Yeah, that's my story there. I have to add their memory. Let me just add there. In terms of that one can qualify. I mean, watching Ranti Motapo back in 2004, when he had just qualified and he was driving his blue Mercedes-Benz, and he was on TV, like 7 o'clock news. Man, that was the moment. That was fantastic. Whoever had the idea to actually go and film him and so on that was just a masterstroke. That was brilliant. That inspired a whole lot of us to say, wow, you know, we want to do this. And he's from Limpopo as well. So yeah, no, I think that I'm not as clever as he is, but he, you know, seeing him there said a lot. It said a lot to us. A lot of guys, yeah, you have the Ndiwos and so on. And you know, being from Venda, having those Venda people passing as well, doing well, you know, it just made it reality for us that, you know, we can do this thing. So yeah, so those are some of the people.
Thanks, Lusani. Now I'm going to be naughty and just say that you have mentioned people who have influenced you. And I'm sure everybody in this platform would want to hear from them. So my challenge to you is for you to help us get those individuals to come and have sessions like this. I'm not sure how you feel about that, but that's my one
Those,
challenge.
I mean, they are easy. I mean, that Randy will be available. You just send him an email, he'll be available. And Ndiwu as well. I think many of you may have listened to Ndiwu. I know she was in the one, I think she was in the one session last year or something like that. I think ASA arranged that one. I don't know if George would be keen, but if you want George, I can tell him that he will give you an interesting perspective about what he thinks actuarial science is. He will even relate a story where you went to meet, I think it's Anthony Asher. You must look up Anthony Asher. I think he's now based in Australia or New Zealand somewhere. To ask him about this, and Anthony Asher had an explanation of what actuarial science is. So that gives you a different perspective. So if you want George to be with you, and he doesn't like talking very much, but he might be willing to share one or two things with you guys. I can do that for you if you want.
Thank you so much, Lusani. So the rest of you will help me hold Lusani to account in terms of the individuals he has said he will pop emails to, so we can make them available to you. On that note, thank you so much, Lusani, for making the time to chat to the actuarial community. We appreciate your wisdom. We appreciate your knowledge. We appreciate that you're sharing personal experiences with the aim of motivating us to strive towards success and achieve our goals. So thank you so much for your time. Thank the rest
fantastic,
of the
fantastic. Samara Michelle said, "Aluta continua." Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lusani. To the rest of the audience, we will post all the questions that you might potentially have to Lusani that he hasn't been able to answer now. And then post on the ASABA page as well. So if you do have questions, you can email info@asaba.co.za, and then we can post those to Lusani and we can share that on the LinkedIn group. Thank you so much, everybody, for spending this evening with us. The video will be made available. I think the size of the videos are making it challenging for us to upload. So the potential for us making the upcoming mentorship sessions slightly shorter for that reason is quite possible, but we'll try and investigate how we can keep to 1.5 hours, because we do realize that there's a lot of value for everybody that's attending. So thank you so much. Good luck for those of you that are writing. Good luck for those of you that are at home and are struggling to stay at home and not move around. Keep safe and take care of each other. Thank you. Have a good evening. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers, everyone.